Welcome to the Beyond the Bucket Show, a podcast centered around optimizing all lives' buckets. We all have buckets we are balancing: coaching, entrepreneurial ventures, family, passion projects, and health. Let's all take this journey together and become bucket fillers. And here's your host, Chris McSwain.
All right, people, welcome back to Beyond the Buckets. We have another fantastic guest on today. We haven't had any podcasts recently with guests. Took a little break, but I'm happy to bring on somebody that I really value our relationship, and she has taught me a whole bunch of things because she teaches a lot of people a bunch of things. But today's guest is Julia Allender. She is a coach of many different things. Started off with basketball. Now she teaches people financial literacy. She's a financial coach, a personal life coach, and she does some great things with her humanitarianism as well. So Julia Allender, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, and happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
For sure. We tried to do this a couple different times, but no time is better than right now. So before we kick it off, there's a lot of different angles that we can take the show. But why don't you give everybody who may even know you a fun fact about yourself? Yeah.
I forgot about this. I wasn't prepared. Fun fact. Okay, here's one. Both my brother and I, we're not twins, we're 4 years apart, were born at home with a midwife. My mom's a savage.
Wow, it takes a definite powerful woman to have that happen. I mean, that's just amazing. No epidural or anything like that.
Nothing.
Wow. And like, how does she feel about that? I hear it's very empowering for women to do something like that.
Yeah, this was just a few years ago. But she doesn't have any complaints. It was very smooth. Nothing obviously went wrong. They obviously had the midwife there. But for her, I think it was important to be in a place or an environment that was quiet. It was calm. She's very drug-free. So yeah, and we both, my brother and I think, turned out fine. So it was all good. Yeah. But yeah, you don't hear about it too much these days, for sure. And so when I tell people that, they're like, what happened?
Well, you've got a pretty good story, and I'll let you tell that. But the last several guests I've had have all had a similar path that I was thinking about. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to bring Julz on, and what are we going to really talk about? But the last several podcast guests all had the same thing in common, and I do too. We grew up here in the San Jose Bay Area, but we all went to junior college, and then we all went to a 4-year college, and then three of the previous guests, or two of the previous guests, Nate and Justin, they both coached in junior college. You coached in junior college, and we all coached something and got into it after, but we also do other things. So really excited to hear your story. So just with that, kind of softball lob for you, give us like a 3 to 4 minute background story on you and how you got to where we are right now.
Sure. So like you said, born and raised in San Jose, a stone's throw from where you are at currently. Went to Santa Clara High School, graduated there. My aspirations, very young as a child, and looking back on it at the time, it was just another thing for me. But looking back, is I knew very early on I wanted to coach. Like at 12 or 13 years old, it's what I wanted to do. I really enjoy helping people. It was always a passion of mine, even as a young child. And so every decision I made at that point was based on a future coaching career. And so I was a D1 or bust kid because I wanted it on my resume, and I thought that would carry a lot of weight in the coaching industry. So like you said, after Santa Clara High School, I had many of D2 offers, but I wanted the D1 scholarship. So I ended up at San Jose City College, where I think in my first year, 6 or 7 of us ended up playing Division I basketball. So it had a different look back then than it does today. But interestingly enough, after I was done playing at San Jose City College, I didn't quite have the offer that I wanted. And so I took a year off. And at that time, I then started reaching out to coaches myself. And I had a friend, she moved to Utah. She was going to go to Southern Utah University. I picked up the phone, I called them. I said, "You have film of mine," and their first response to me was, "Well, we figured you'd already had gotten offered a scholarship. Please come." And it was that moment for me, I think, that shaped or changed the direction of my coaching career, because at that time I realized that there were many opportunities for individuals that necessarily weren't known or being worked hard enough for, and so I ended up at Southern Utah University. I played there for 2 years. I really enjoyed the area. I really enjoyed, I grew up in the city like you. I really enjoyed being out and being in a country and in a small town, in a small environment. And then from there, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in physical education with a specialty or an emphasis in coaching. Came home, and I started coaching as an assistant coach at Ohlone College for 3 years. And then in 2009, I got the head coaching job and was there for 5 years. It was only an adjunct, so it was a part-time position. And then I applied to Sacramento City College, and I got that job as a full-time tenured position in 2014, and was there for 5 years. And then, I kind of want to do something a little different with my life. You kind of start to age and kind of look back. And I think for me, I realized I had accomplished those things that I set out to. And had to, I think at that time of your life, or at least for me, is start to look at different areas and different things that I wanted to venture into and know about. And so then that's when I stopped coaching at the junior college level, gave up my tenure position, and everyone thought I was having a meltdown, but it was far from it. And started officiating, strangely enough, got into finance, and have dabbled in a few other things. I'm a builder. I like to create. I like to do things. And so I kind of delve into a lot. So there's my probably longer than 4 minutes, but there you have it.
My mic was muted. But just for people that don't know you, like, you're super organized and you have a plan, and then you stick with that plan. And then when you either accomplish that goal, you go to the next thing. And so some people, like to hold on to things, and other people like to, okay, I can't do much more here, so let me go to a different area. And you've had great success in all those things. One of the things that first of all, I didn't know that you took a year off in between that, your sophomore year at San Jose City College and then going to Southern Utah. But what was profound to me, and I think this it can be said for a lot of people, is the fact that coach wanted you. And it's not where you go, it's who you're with. It's not where you're at, it's where you're at with the people that are around you. And I think that was probably one of the reasons why you went to that school, and probably one of the reasons why, you stuck it out there and had success there, is because those people wanted you. And I think we've been doing this a long time as far as, coaching and seeing players try to shoot for the moon. And you said it earlier, you were D1 or bust. You ended up going Division I, but it didn't matter that you went D1. It mattered that you got to go play somewhere where somebody wanted you, and the key is to go play. I think a lot of people, put down, we all went to junior college before going to a 4-year. At the end of the day, and I tell this to a lot of parents or players, if you get the opportunity to play at college at any level, that is an extreme blessing. You are a very small percentage of individuals that get to do that, and it's a blessing. So don't think about, oh, I have to go NAIA or D3 or Division two, or even if you go D1 and it's not a Power 5 school, which is about to be like Power 2 or Power 3 here in the next year.
No kidding.
And it doesn't really matter because you get the opportunity to actually go and do it. So my question to you is, did you think about that while you were growing up, or is that something that you learned later on?
Which part exactly?
So just the part of going, like trying to find that school, because everybody has those same schools that are always listed. If it's in this area, it's at Stanford, right? That's something somebody always wants to strive for, but it's almost like hitting the lottery, and the genetic and athletic lottery to go to a school like that.
Totally. Yeah. So Santa Clara University was my dream school. I grew up and went to all their camps. I knew Karen Horstmeyer she was the coach back then, going to all the Bronco camps. And I see her today watching her daughter, and, we catch up. That was my dream school. And to your point, so my high school journey was very interesting, and it gives me a lot of knowledge and experience to now talk to kids and offer them some educational advice. But as an eighth grader, I got a recruit letter from Stanford University. I got a handwritten letter from Tara Vanderveer. I was very, very, very good as an eighth grader. And I had a choice to make where I was going to go to high school, and it was either going to be Mitty or Santa Clara High School. And I would have walked into the same class as Ramitra Craig and Amy Gribbs and all these very affluent players for Mitty. I went to Santa Clara High School. I transferred to Mitty the beginning of my sophomore year, and was working out with the varsity team and things of that nature, and ended up going back to Santa Clara for various reasons at that age. And if I look back on that, my career in the basketball world would have been very, very different if I would have stuck it out and played at Mitty. So it is one of those things where if I take that experience and then I wanted to go to Santa Clara University. They're like, great, walk on. I was like, no. And then, like you said, I went to somewhere that said, yes, we want you. And so, yeah, the experiences are different. I started my senior year at Southern Utah University. Our travel was horrific. We were the only school west, I think, of Oklahoma or Indiana.
Yeah.
So with all these conference changes now, I'm like, yeah, I can understand how that travel's going to be. But, if I had to do it over again, I would have stayed at Mitty. If I had to do it over again in the sense of getting D2 offers out of high school, I would take them.
For sure. And D2 is not a bad way to go either. You probably would have stepped in and had an opportunity to play right away. And that's really all you want to do. You get your school paid for, and then you get to play. So, I just think you can, you could always look back at things, but that also probably shaped you to this day too. So, all of going through all of that shaped you. You wouldn't be where you're at right now without certain things going that way. I remember when I was in high school, and I didn't have like great grades in high school. I had like a 2.6, and Utah was coming to recruit me for football at the time. And they were saying that we got this great quarterback coming in. He plays in San Diego. He actually played with Reggie Bush, and his name is Alex Smith. And I played receiver at the time. And the coach was like, all you got to do is get your SATs and da-da-da. At that time, you needed like 1,000 to have it. For 2.6 at the time, you had to have like 1,000 GPA. And right. I got like 980. So they were like, same thing. You can come and try to walk on if you want. And so I think my life would have been different too had that happened. Obviously right. he went on to have a lot of success in the NFL, and then he got drafted to the Niners and things like that. You look at those type of areas, and what happened my freshman year, I ended up getting hurt. I had to sit out my whole sophomore year. And I started as a freshman, and then you got other people coming in and stuff like that. You're coming off an injury, and some of those opportunities that you had before just may not even be there. But I wouldn't change anything in the world for what I had to go through to get to where I'm at right now. Would you say the same thing for you, or would you actually go back and be like, no, I should have went there because I wanted to go to Stanford back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, I don't regret what I did. I mean, I don't live in regret. And like you said, it surely did shape me. I mean, I had to work for frickin' everything I've earned. I was slow as God knows how I was
You can
frickin'
curse
slow.
if you
So
want. It's okay.
I mean, I was so slow in high school. My dad would yell in the stands to drop the trailer, like behind me because, so I don't regret it. Would I make a different decision? Probably, just because I was so competitive, and I'm curious to see. I know how my life went one way. Not that I think that I lived a bad life. I mean, I served my purpose very, very thoroughly, but um, I think I would have improved and done different things. But who
For sure.
knows?
Such is life.
Such is
So
life.
talk to me about coaching junior college basketball. As you said, the landscape has very much changed. When you were going to junior college, all those kids were getting recruited heavily, and now it's not as much. And you have to be a coach that is willing to go out there and fight for your players to get opportunities at the next level, because it's just the landscape of college sports has really, really changed. So talk about your experience, first going to Ohlone. I think that's where we kind of connected when you were there. And then obviously going and having success at Sac City.
Yeah, it's a challenging level to say the most for various reasons. But I wanted to be there first and foremost because, like I said early on, my purpose has always been to help individuals and to help kids. And my vehicle has always been basketball or was basketball when I was coaching. And so I very much came in and everything was based off of that purpose first and foremost. I was going to help these kids get recruited or achieve whatever goals that they came up with, right? Um, but it's a hustle. I mean, you go out and you have to recruit. No one's coming to you. I mean, I had it worked out at Ohlone by the time I was leaving, where I didn't really have to recruit as much because I had laid such a foundation and was known for getting kids on. But you know, you're out there, you're recruiting. The only thing you have to sell them is yourself,
Sure.
and that is your belief and your desire and your willingness and your ability to help them achieve their goals. And that was what my program was based on. Um, but the pendulum swing of type and talent of individuals that you get on your team is it's just so drastic, right? And so being able to take all of those different individuals, and some wanted to play at the next level and some didn't, and to get them to find their purpose and get them to become self-determined, was what I did first and foremost. And I think that's what drove the program. It wasn't, I mean, I love X's and O's, and I love to break games down, and I love to teach the game, but it was me driving them to drive themselves that really took my programs to where they were, and to have that success, and then to keep that success going.
And I want to pause you there because that is a good point. How do you get the ownership on them to want to be better and not have somebody always having to tell them to, and they start to want to?
Mhm. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's, for the first, what I did with my programs was, like, for the first 2 or 3 weeks, we could obviously start a little early. We could start when school started, which we were very fortunate at that level to be able to do, because you only have them for 18 months, and some of them you only have them for 9 because they get their offer and they're gone, right? But I spent a lot of time early, um, going over, like, your goals. You need to have a goal. You need to have multiple goals. And what drives that goal is your purpose. right? And I stepped in and gave my evaluation or suggestions, but would have individual meetings and group meetings. And once they found their goals or wrote them down, some of them knew them right away. Some of them had to kind of take a look at them and had their purpose. We took each of them and we developed their program for them, right? And when you can talk to a kid almost every day or every week about their goal and their purpose, and they can see improvements towards that, what we're doing in the weight room and the basketball court, they then become self-determined. And I didn't use accountability. I'm not going to I'm just not going to push you there. I will help you. And that for them is motivation, right? And then you get them to see how their actions affect others, right? That you get the individualism off, and look, you're a part of a group and this is how you affect others. And they kind of pull themselves up by their own bootstraps and they kind of get their stuff together. Not all, you definitely are going to have your moments in time where you're going to have to make a decision as a coach. Someone did something or whatever, but that creates enough group internal pressure that they're kind of monitoring themselves, and I'm only dealing with the big stuff that came. But it was finding their purpose, validating it, making them right for it, and helping them achieve that. That did me a lot of good, and them.
And then what did you do for a student athlete that didn't have an attainable goal? Because there's a lot of people that think, oh, like, for instance, I want to go Division I, but you don't have the Division I athleticism or skill or size to do that. And so how did you go about, like, not trying to smash their dreams into a million pieces, but lift them up to try to make them see that that's really not an attainable goal?
Totally. Yeah, that's a tough one. And here's what I did, right, wrong, or indifferent. So I want them to aim high, because I have found that society in general, and individuals that, even friends of mine, colleagues, teammates, fall short because the misestimation of effort. Like, we think it's only going to take this much to achieve this much, right? So I want you thinking high because I want that effort. So sure, it happens, right? Kid wants to go play for Ohio State. They're 5'6", 90 pounds on a good day. I just never invalidated this. What I did was like, great, here's where you're at. Here's where you need to get to. And this is what you have to do every single day. And these are the skills you have to achieve. And this is what you have to shoot. These are your stats that you have to have. You're going to have to be able to defend this. Here's your plan. And a lot of them, when they don't have, the size or skill, they don't want to work that hard. And so then they self-determinedly will go, okay, maybe I want to go play Division II basketball. And again, yeah, Division II, I'm not knocking on Division II basketball. It's a very, very good high level. I officiate it. But that's how I handled it. And maybe I have too much of a soft heart, but
you don't have a soft heart, because I've seen you in the gym, girl. Don't tell me no, there ain't no softy in you, okay? Maybe back in those, I don't know. Maybe I haven't seen the soft heart.
No, but that, I never wanted anybody to tell me I couldn't achieve it, right? My thing was like, fuck you, I'm gonna go get it. I had a chip on my shoulder because I had many people tell me I'd never play Division I basketball. And so that's what worked for me. That's what kept them engaged. I didn't feel like I was lessening their ability or deflating them or taking anything away. And then they saw how they can drive their own life. But it's a tough one.
Yeah. Looking back on your coaching career, as we talked about earlier, things that we may do different in our life. Would there be anything? Because I'll look back and be like, damn, what was that? Because I'll watch every single game from the previous year, and then I'll kind of, if I have time, I'll go back and watch other games from previous years, and I'll just be like, man, I just made so many mistakes, just schematically. When you think about it and you look back at it in the moment, you're like, no, that was the right decision. But I'm very self-critical on myself, and I know you do the same thing where you're always evaluating and trying to get better. And specifically, when I've been looking at film, is okay, the action has been working. Now the final product is not what it should be, like a finish, right? So how can we get better at putting them in a position where they can finish these plays? Because it does nothing for us to just get them to there. We need to get them through the finish line. And that's what I've been, working with myself internally as well as our staff on contingency plans. When this happens, we need to be able to go to this. That's what I've been doing currently. But as you look at a broader scale with your coaching career, because you're not currently coaching college basketball, what would be some of the things that you would go tell yourself to implement now that certain things about the game?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think first and foremost, I would tell myself to always be me. I think early on, especially early on in my career, I let too many, I wouldn't say outside influences, but well, my past coach did this, so I need to do that. Or the men's coach is doing this, so I need to do that. Or they're not allowing them, or he screams and yells, so I need to scream and yell. Or, I need to scream and yell at officials because every coach does, right? So I think that would be the first thing I would tell myself, is just always be you. Be true to who you are, who you want to be, and how you want to treat your players.
And I want you to continue that, but do you think that comes with just experience? Do you think everybody, because I talked to Alicia Komaki, the Syria Cannon, she said she's always been herself, and it took me probably like 6 years to be like, okay, cool, I feel 100% me. I don't have to placate to anything that I've seen before. So what do you think that is? Because I think it's probably different from everybody else.
Yeah, I would say for sure experience, right? Like realizing that, one, it was how I felt. Like when I'm like, I don't enjoy trying to be like somebody else. This is not an enjoyable experience for me. I think that would be one thing. And then seeing success in how you feel you should do it, right? So that does come with experience where, if I run ABC, we get a basket. I don't really care what he's saying, but those are two things. Some people, I don't know, I don't have an answer. It took me a year and a half, I would say. And even then, at some point in time, someone would insert me and I'd be like, well, maybe what I'm doing isn't correct. But towards the end of my coaching career, I mean, I didn't even have any assistant coaches my last year. It was just me.
Right.
So I had complete certainty in what I did and how I did it. And maybe there is a better way, and maybe this and maybe that, but I knew what I did worked. And so I had that confidence.
Yeah, and I stopped wanting to go to coaching clinics too, because of the fact that there's much good information, but you can only use so much of it. So every single year I throw out more stuff. Stop, what am I doing? What do we even have this drill even in my practice planning for? What does it help? Does it help in the actual game, or is this a drill that just kind of looks cool that we can get the players to think that we're a great coach? And
Right.
I know we've talked about this before off the podcast, but just doing only things that happen in the game. Why would we do anything else that doesn't actually affect the outcome of the game? And so I agree. And yeah, like you said, I think and we don't even know we're doing it sometimes. When you look back and be like, damn, I was acting like such and such coach, because that's what you saw. But you don't know that when you're in the moment. You think this is how you're supposed to be doing it. So
yeah. And I think to fully answer the first question you asked me, one thing I do look back upon and go, I wish I would have played every kid every game. I just wish I would, because it's been really good for me to step away, whatever you want to call it, but you can get an exterior viewpoint and look back and go, every level of basketball beyond the NBA and the WNBA is a developmental level. It just is, because there's always a higher place to go. There's always a next level. Even in the NBA, right? Guys coming in as rookies or the WNBA, and they're developing. So it didn't matter whether I won or lost. Kids didn't get less recruited the more I won or lost. I mean, it never changed year to year if I had a better season. The outcomes of games were never the deciding factors on how many kids got recruited that year, right? So I just wish I could figure out. So if I were to go back, that is for sure one thing, is I would get every kid in every game, because that is their pay. That's their reward. Why are they there? Why have I kept them there? So.
Yeah. That's a profound statement, for real. Like
Yeah.
You're right. The shit doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And a lot of things have changed in my life. Obviously, but my mom passing away has allowed me to think about certain things that do actually matter. It's I had friends from high school that I hadn't seen or spoke to in a long time, and they either reached out or even pulled up to the ceremony, which was, wow. I don't remember all those games, but I know that we have a bond, and it was almost like a freeway on ramp. Okay. My freeway is going this way, their freeway is going this way. And then all of a sudden we merged together, and we had a long period of time, which our freeways were kind of parallel together. We were right next to each other on that highway. And then, you got to go do your thing. I got to go do my thing. And then all of a sudden something happens, a life-changing event, and we merge back together, and we pick back up wherever we left off. And it got me thinking. I was even thinking about the Colorado football team, and I was talking to somebody right before we jumped on, but they were saying how everybody was, waiting for Coach Prime to lose and all this stuff, and when they played Colorado State. But honestly, it doesn't matter if he won or lost, because first of all, hardly any of the teams go undefeated. They're all they're all going to lose at least one game, or one team is going to win all the games, but that's extremely rare. So what he's done is really change the culture of what is going on. So whether they win or not, it only helps, it only helps the people that feel good about that win. But what he's already done, he's already changed something and made something super, super special. And so for me, when you made that comment, it's like, damn, it really does not matter at the end of the day. And
yeah, I wasn't going to get fired if I lost games. It just,
sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's I'm still pondering that statement, because there is a lot of truth to it. And there's been a lot of kids that sit at the end of the bench, even at the high school level. And what are we really trying to accomplish? We want those kids. But I think winning matters, but I think winning habits matter more, the things that they can learn from that. And just as I'm thinking through it, is it a bad thing that a kid stayed on the bench and was loyal that whole time, learned a lot of valuable lessons? Because there's probably times where you were on the bench. There was times where I was on the bench where I was like, damn, I'm just coming to all these practices. But yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. That's a really good.
It is. Yeah, I don't have it figured out.
Yeah.
I think if I were to go back, I would figure out how to make that happen. I'm not saying I'd play kid, and maybe I would. Maybe I wouldn't. Equal minutes. You do have to, as the coach, right? You do have to protect the team, and you do have responsibilities and whatnot. But I feel like I'd get every kid in, give them a job, give them a responsibility, and I think they would rise.
And even if it's 1 minute, that's what you're saying. You're not saying play the whole game, because I do think that there should be some sort of hierarchy. The best players need to be in the game, I think, the majority of the time, which is kind of how it is. But as a reward, I think that's what you're saying is like, hey, I can give this kid 1 minute in the game just so their family came to the game. And I think that I don't want to put, words in your mouth, but as I play it out, it's like, okay, yeah, I can actually get behind something like that where it's like, hey, you're going to go in for 30 seconds. And I just want you to don't turn the basketball over, because is that 30 seconds going to lose you the game? Probably not. I mean, you were probably going to win or lose anyway, with them in or with them out. So, yeah.
Yeah. 5 minutes, and figure out, okay, where does this kid succeed? Have a press squad, have a half court squad. I don't know. I have many ideas being away from it, but when
It's
you're
just,
in the thick of it, it's different. But
it's
I
just
would,
hard AF in the middle of it. Cause like, as you said, your competitive juices really take over. And sometimes that competitive nature brings out the worst in us. I know, for me, you get so locked in on this one thing and you think it is the most important thing. And if you fall back, is that the most important thing? I've really tried to say, okay, what does this program actually mean? What do I want them to accomplish, whether they go play college or not? I want them to have a good experience. I want them to have some sort of life skills because they played in this program, some sort of a personal accountability, even if we have to hold them accountable, or them holding themselves accountable, or their teammates. That's what we want this program to be about, where you know what we're about. And I came up with this acronym, and I'll be sharing it later on probably other podcasts, but it's called TRUST. And so I want everybody to trust me, but I want you to trust each other. And it's true reliability and understanding strengthens teams. So what does that really mean if we break down true reliability? That means I know I can count on you no matter what. If it's good, I know I can count on you. If it's bad, I know I can count on you. If it's just a regular old day, I know that I can count on you. And that reliability, and you understand where I'm coming from. We have different backgrounds on a team. There's 12 kids on a basketball team. We all have different backgrounds, and now I have to understand where that person is coming from. Like a school like ours, we have kids that come from Hayward, and then we have a kid that comes from Campbell. We have a kid that comes from Gilroy, and all these kids are coming. Well, the kid from Hayward has to wake up at like 4:30 in the morning, or the two kids that we have from Hayward. And the other kid can wake up at 7 to be at our class, on time. It's just different. So you have to have the understanding. And then if you do all those things, then you can strengthen your entire team. So that's kind of what I started like, all right, let's start defining all this stuff and like putting it out there. This is what we want our program to be. And that's something that I came up with not too long ago.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, bringing individuals together collectively with such different backgrounds. I mean, it is the epitome of junior college basketball. I mean, you have kids with, parents that are locked up, parents that are well off, parents that may strike a child, and everyone's going through their own thing. And, how do you get those 12? I rarely had 12. I usually ended seasons with 7 or 8, but 12 or whatever, no matter what else is going on with their life, what their background is about, to come together in practices, in games towards a collective goal. That to me is an art.
And that is what matters, because a lot of the stuff, like you said, doesn't matter. And that point just really resonated with me. Like it just doesn't matter, but that is what matters. And a lot of the stuff that we think matters really doesn't. And one of the songs that there was a lot of music that I wanted to listen to kind of like over the last month. But one of my favorite songs is a Lauryn Hill song. It's called Nothing Even Matters at All. Yeah. It is one of the, and I'm sitting here bawling, crying, listening to this song, whether I'm driving or I'm working out, and I'm sitting here crying because she sings it so well. And then she has like this melody, and it's like, nothing ever matters at all. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And it is so, so true. And you have to like fall back sometimes and be like, does this even matter? Like, why is this even a discussion? It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, and to that point, you just reminded me of something, and even with my teams is putting the game into perspective. Like, who cares? We're throwing a freaking ball into a hoop. Like, what are we run up and down the court for 40 minutes, and all we're trying to do is take this stupid. Now, everyone who knows me knows that my career has been around basketball, so I say this very off cuff, but it takes the significant off of it. Like, this, none of this matters. Like, that ball going through the hoop, it doesn't matter. It's all we're trying to do. But if we're going to do this, and if we're going to spend all of this time, and if you played
Mm,
for me, we spent a lot of time, why not be the best? Why not give
absolutely.
it your best,
And
right?
that's it.
Yeah. And so that, like you said, that matters. The outcome of the game at the end of the day didn't matter to me. Looking back, it's more important that I gave them value within the team, and that would be getting them in the game, a minute, a quarter, I don't know, 2 to 4 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on the game. And being honest with them and truthful, and like, look, this is how you can help the team, and I think kids, players, individuals, people value that.
Absolutely. The winning doesn't matter, but the process to win does matter. And so if you do that process, as Bill Walsh wrote a book about it, the score will take care of itself. So we're
Yeah.
really not playing the score. We're playing to reach our ultimate potential. If we do that, we're not worried about what the score is. And if we fall short of our ultimate potential and we lose the game, it's because we didn't do the things necessary that we needed to, regardless of whatever the other team is. And sometimes people are just more talented than you too.
Right.
Somebody is just going to be better, and that's
Right.
okay too, as long as your process was we literally laid it all out there.
Right.
And we put it out there. We didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. We didn't make our own mistakes. And I think I think that is kind of like how we, put a bow on that. And I think we kind of put that together. But yes, there are certain things that do matter. The process absolutely does to winning, but the actual winning doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But it's
Yeah,
really
and
fun.
then
It's really fun though.
yeah, and it is fun. I know. I would, and them achieving their goals within that, right? There's like this saying, right? There's no I in team. To the degree there is, because they need to have success,
And there
right?
is there is an M and an E though.
There is an M and an E, right? Yeah, I had games where I really had to like check myself of like,
Mm,
what's more important? Like, what is my purpose? Yeah, I can really, really, really just go try to win this game, or am I going to give my team value?
yep.
And it's tough. It's not
For sure.
easy.
One of my other favorite acronyms is WIN. What's important now? And
Right.
okay, like okay, we lost the game. Well, what's important now? We got to go back and we got to figure out how we win if we do the things that we need to. But I do want to switch topics because
Sure.
I want to make sure that we get to this. But this is one of the biggest things that I want to discuss, and I think it is your your personal financial coach, which helps people with their finances. And I didn't really learn finances until after college, um, probably in my 30s, about like how to do all this stuff. And so you decided to stop coaching and go get some certifications so you can be a certified financial person. So talk about that, and what led you to that path. I think it's a path that a lot of people need some understanding on, especially in our schools early on, because nobody knows how to manage money unless you come from money and somebody has taught you about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you, got my I didn't learn about money. I got my bachelor's degree in phys ed. I got my master's in human movement. It's all about making bodies move, making them quicker, faster, and how to coach. And when I got to Sacramento City College, I had a pension. What that meant at that time to me, wasn't really sure, other than people valued it, right? So I never paid attention to what was coming out of my check,
Mm,
what I was going to get, how long I'd have to be there, where the money went. So obviously, when I stepped away in 2019, I was still teaching at the time. I actually was commuting to Alameda College, a few days a week. Yeah,
I remember
I
that.
recommend
Yeah.
that. Yeah, oof, that's rough. But and then we had the pandemic, right? And so during that time, I was obviously home. Did not want to teach really anymore. Was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew one thing is I wanted to work for myself. I'm not a 9 to 5er. I'm a hustler. I will go make things happen. I tend to produce very quickly. Don't want to be measured by my hours, but by my work. So I had a friend of mine post something on Facebook. I inquired, and that's kind of how the financial journey or path into that. And what I realized, similar to you, is as I was going through this, I was like, oh my God, I'm a pretty smart, able, aware individual, and I had no idea about money, how it worked, where it was going, what you could do with it, how money gets taxed, um, all these things. And so going then back to my passion in helping people, and I was at a point in my life where I was either going to get a real estate license or go into finance. For me, I just was like, I can help. I can continue to help educate and continue to help individuals um, become literate, become more successful in life. And so that's the why I chose that path. And so I got licensed as a financial professional, and then have spent the last 4 years really delving into the industry, and learning many things, working with many different financial institutions on very different aspects. And so I've enjoyed it.
For sure. Well, I mean, you taught me a lot. You know, you gave me a couple books that I did read, and it taught me. Well, first of all, I need to act on a couple of those books that you showed me, and one was a whole life high cash value um, insurance policy.
Dividend paying, yeah,
Yeah,
dividend paying insurance
which
policy. Mhm.
you can ultimately be your own bank in a certain amount of words. You are funding that bank, but then you can also borrow against the balance that is in there, and then pay it back whenever. And then whenever you either retire and or pass away, this will continue to go on to your family and their family and their family and stuff like that. So I think that was extremely profound, and it came from a conversation just in our backyard, and said, hey, I got a
Mhm.
couple books that you should use, and I haven't acted on it, but I know I need to. And
Yeah.
so why don't you tell people about some of the things that they need to know but do not know currently with like finances and things like that.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a couple things. One is identifying basic truths about anything that we're trying to learn about. So here the topic is money and finance, right? What are the basic truths? One is we always need ways to earn more money. I mean, you don't get rich without you don't get wealthy, you don't get well off without one earning more money. And so how does one go about that? Where are they at? Where would they like to be? And how do we bridge that gap? That's one of the things that I really enjoy doing with individuals that come to me. It's like, okay, good. Where are you at? What is your skill set? Where would you like to be? Great, let's get you there. Two is then is where can I put my money? And so we have kind of these industry standards, one could say, or ways that have been that mainstream media or the mainstream have pushed upon people, which is a savings account in a bank, um, a 401k, and the stock market. That's kind of like if people were to like talk about money in general, not knowing a whole lot, those are kind of the three things that we find individuals are aware of, right? And then not knowing, like what you said, that I can be my own bank. So what does that mean? Right? That means that I can have a policy. The vehicle is not in question, but is what I can do with it. So if I put money into a policy or an account, we can just call an account. Let's say I put $1,000 a month into this account. And then, like you said, I can borrow against it. Well, why would I borrow against it? Because when I take that money out to go then spend it, it's going to earn me interest, even though I spent it, right? So if I just leave it in a checking account, once I spend that money, it's gone. I never earn interest on it. I don't ever see it again. If I then have this savings vehicle or this infinite banking, become your own banker policy, I'm spending cash, but I'm earning interest on the cash I'm spending. And people are like, what? What are you talking about? You're crazy. There's no such thing. But there is, right? And it's not an investment. It's a save. So there are these foundational things like infinite banking, become your own banker, where it's this foundational financial tool that I can use that is better than a bank. The other thing about banks that is happening right now, right, is they're going under, they're going bankrupt, which is such an odd concept. Banks going bankrupt, right? So what we're looking for when we help clients is, one, where can I safely put my money? It's that I'm not going to lose, I'm only going to earn, that has the flexibility of letting me take it out, put it back in, take it out, put it back in, but continually earning interest that I spent it. And I think that's one of the most powerful financial tools that the high majority of people are not aware of, that you don't even, there are some small qualifications, but it's better than a savings account in the bank. You don't have to wait. There's no penalties. You don't have to be a certain age, like we talk about with 401k. So that would be one thing. The other, I think, just kind of a general concept, and it's kind of a very long discussion, is that there's ways to invest where you don't lose money, right? We kind of all get wrapped around this idea of a 401k or a pension or things of that nature that takes our money and does something with it, and we cannot touch it, right? And we're putting in it's at risk. It potentially could go lose. Pensions not so much, but potentially I could get more money than I'm going to get with my pension. But they're not talked about a lot. They're not taught a lot for whatever reason. Business owners, they are going to offer 401ks because you, as the consumer, as the employee, are going to be paying their taxes, right? So if they're matching you, so if I have a 401k and I'm putting $200 a month in or whatever, and they're going to match me 6%, they're matching me 6% of whatever I put in. I don't even know, 10% is 20, so $60. They don't pay that's a tax deferral for them. So they're not paying taxes on that money. But when I take that money out in the future, when I'm 59 and a half, I pay taxes on all of the money, not just the money I put in, right? So it's one of those things where you have to become aware of when we're talking about investments and things of that nature. Who is it really benefiting? Am I at risk? And what are the other options, right? And again, it can be a super long conversation. My advice, anyone can contact me, but there's a lot of information to be known about, and just because it has been done for years and years and years, it isn't the best way to do things.
Right. I was telling my wife the other day, I was like, we are closer to poverty than we are to be rich or wealthy. We are closer. I said, what is the gap between that? We own a couple, we own a condo and we own our home, but like we're closer to poverty than we are to being rich, and then to we are to being wealthy. Like that is a profound reality. And most people are in that category.
Right.
So like how can people do a better job? Like obviously you're not going to be able to give super specifics about this right now, because we're only going to do an hour podcast. But what should people be doing and thinking? Where should I put my money instead of a regular bank account? Where should that money sit?
Yeah, so a couple of things to look at. Obviously, we're in a time, and we have been for the last few years, we're in this high inflation. So the value of the dollar is going down, right? So we have what's called the time value of money. So my dollar today is going to be worth less tomorrow than it is today. It's just a fact, right? So where can I put money? So a couple places. One, in terms of, well, first, in terms of your statement about being closer to poverty, right? It's a very real statement, and you both have very good jobs. I don't know how much you make combined, but you seem to be doing very well. You both work very hard, right? So
She makes more than me.
okay. So there are solutions, right? It isn't one of those things, and I think that that's what the average individual can kind of get into. Well, I don't make enough money to do anything, or I'll invest later, or I'll start when I have more money. And that day just never comes. I mean, there's some staggering statistics right now that I think it's over 60% of individuals are going to outlive their money because they are not set up for their future, for when they stop working. And people wait until they're in their 50s to start figuring that out. And that is too late, right? You are going to live a poverty lifestyle later in life if that's what you wait for. So there's obviously a few options. The first thing would be what you brought up, would be that high early cash value dividend paying whole life insurance, which is a mouthful, which is basically a life insurance policy that lasts your whole life, right? So life insurance is, I put money in, it guarantees me, if I continue to pay it, that the day that I am no longer alive, my heirs, my beneficiaries get X amount of dollars. That is the basic.
And can you put in, like, if you wanted to put accelerated amount in the beginning instead of just paying the premiums, whatever it be, $1,000 a month, can you put like $50,000 in to start, and then you start paying premiums as well, just so you have something in there already?
Yes, you absolutely can. And here's a very, very important aspect to that statement, is you need to go to someone who knows how to do that. Because if you don't, what happens is so with life insurance, again, just going back to the basics of it, if I put in $5, I get 10. Let's just, for example, right? If I put in $100, I get 200 or whatever, right? So the more money I put in, the more life insurance, the more that death benefit is going to pay out, right? The more death benefit that is going to pay out, the more cost comes back to you who's paying it. So there are ways to set it up that I like. I have one, and in the first year I put 25K in it, right? So, but it's only set up for that first year for 25K, and then in the next years I'm not going to put as much, so I'm not going to incur that cost that I would if it were set up incorrectly.
Sure.
So that money just grows over time, right? So these are companies that have paid dividends for the last 150 plus years. They've never not paid. So they're always, your cash value is always going up. Life insurance companies are the most financially secure investment institutions that society has. They have financial standards that they have to keep, and they do offer wealth building products. The other place to look to put money, if someone is looking for a store of value, right, to kind of hedge inflation, would be in precious metals. It's always something to look at, because we know that gold over the last 100 close to 100 years has always gone up. Right. So
yeah.
So those would be, there's a lot to learn. And I think individuals, I don't think I know, when I talk to people, they're so overwhelmed that you need to sit down with someone, right? And get your questions answered, and get the education. And that is what I enjoy doing, is just taking the time and really just sitting with someone and educating them. And then they can make educated decisions for their future. And it's nice to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's mind blowing, like how money works and how the people that are rich and wealthy, got their money, and how they're borrowing against their stocks and things like that that are allowing them to not use their own money to purchase these uh, homes or whatever it is they're buying. They're borrowing the money. They will pay it back, but while that money's sitting in there, it's earning interest. And so, like, if your money's sitting in the bank, as you mentioned before, because of inflation, that dollar is no longer going to be worth that dollar amount next year or the year after or the year after. And that's one thing that I've learned from you, and just trying to enrich myself in understanding how to like win financially. What's important?
Right.
Well, you want to make sure that you are set up for a long term, and you want your family to be set up. And when people pass away that are close to you, that is even more of an incentive to make sure that you get your ducks in a row. Like, I went to the doctor. So when my mom passed, I went to the doctor. I got everything checked out. I got everything checked out because I thought I was dying. And so making sure that your health, because I was like, damn, what happens if I'm gone? I don't have it all set up. Like, we need to make sure that our family trust is set up. We need to make sure that our high cash value, dividend earning life insurance policy is set up.
Right.
And, it's just, you don't want to think about those things, but it's a real reality. And we need to think about those. And if we don't, I know, going through this firsthand from losing my stepfather-in-law, who was planning to do all these things, but they were not already done. It has caused a lot of turmoil for the family after the fact.
Yeah. It's a tough conversation to have, for sure. Like, there's specific parts of different things you have to talk about with, my clients. And I'm like, look, this is going to be a little morbid, but someone needs to help them confront it, because like you just said, I mean, no one expects to pass away. No one expects. Everyone, and those are tough, right? And the other thing, in terms of finances, is really understanding how things get taxed, right? And how to not avoid taxes, right? But to legally not have to get your money taxed. And that life insurance account is will never be taxed. There's a way to set up trusts so that it doesn't get taxed, right? In the state of Nevada and things of that nature. So there's just a lot, and yeah.
So, we're going to have to continue this and do another one, just because there was a lot of things that I wanted to hit, especially your podcast, which I think is phenomenal, where you're talking about, or you're bringing on people. First of all, tell everybody about your podcast real quick. I know you fly to LA to do it. Is that once a week still?
So I actually fly down once a month, and in one day we get anywhere from 3 to 6 guests in the studio. So it's a long day for me, but it's called Let's Talk About Human Rights, and I work with a nonprofit called Youth for Human Rights International. I'm part of the California chapter, and Youth for Human Rights International's purpose is to help educate everyone on what human rights are, specifically the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was written and adopted in the 1940s by the United Nations. So this is not some theory. This is for every human being on planet Earth. They all have these human rights. And so our goal is to make individuals aware, educate, and I've interviewed some unbelievably amazing humanitarians that are fighting in all the different areas of the 30 human rights. And some of them are tough conversations to have because they hit close to home. And I'm not a parent, but when we get into the conversations about sex trafficking and things of that nature, it's real.
And one of the young ladies that you had on there that was, sex trafficked, she had a great story, but her attitude was so positive, and you get a lot of strength for somebody that goes through basically hell and able to come out better, way better than they were. And it's just amazing. So like, that's that's really, really great stuff that you're doing. And, I commend you. I commend you on all the stuff that you do. You do it so thoroughly. You do it so well. And you put a lot of care into the things that you're doing. And it's not just for you. It's for the people around you and in the community and people for others. And I like to think of myself as doing something like that, but I just really, really respect you and all the things that you do.
I appreciate you very much, and I appreciate that. And I would have to say the same for you, and like you said in your opening statement, I value our friendship as well, and I have a lot of respect for what you do and how you do it. And it's good to be back.
Thank you. Well, we're definitely going to have to do round 2. But before we go, there's one question that I ask every guest. And if there's somebody that should be on the show, who should it be? And you have to help me get them on.
Oh, gosh. I was not prepared for these. Let's see. Who should you have on the show?
This is a secret to how I get guests.
Let's see. I think you should have one of my guests that I've interviewed on human rights.
That would be powerful. I would love that.
Yeah, and I'll make the introduction. I'll have to figure out which one, but I have some ideas.
Okay, sounds good. I'm gonna hold you to it.
Absolutely.
All right, here is the outro if I can find it.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond the Buckets podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with your friends. And until next time, take care.